There will be spoilers ahead. Lots of spoilers, so be careful, won't you?
Exterior shot. The parking lot of a Bob's Big Boy in Sheboygan. Two men, Mike, Max, stand over the bloody body of a dead pony. The pony has clearly been shot multiple times, then run over with a monster truck, which is parked nearby. The name, The Cranky Yankee, is clearly visible painted on the side of the truck. Close-up of Mike, with a stick of Pocky hanging out of the corner of his mouth and wearing neon green Happy New Year 2004 sunglasses. Mike. Why, man? What did this really accomplish? Quick cut to close-up of Max, wearing evil clown makeup and a carnation sticking out of his nose. Max. What didn't it accomplish, Mike? Ask yourself that. Pull back as Max skips backward to the monster truck while Mike somberly begins covering the body of the pony with mayonnaise. Pull further back for a crane shot revealing the crashed alien spaceships around them, each emitting different calliope music. So, what do you think? How much do you love it? Genius, right? Talk about life imitating art, huh? Hello?
If you added
Anyone? Anyone? So anyway, this movie, this week's film is 2012's Seven Psychopaths, and this was recommended by Ned the Cheese Boy and by Regan McStravick. So this is entirely their fault, and they're the ones to whom you should address your envelopes full of strawberry jello. I'm just saying. But here we've got a movie that's kind of about movies and psychopathology. Sure. And who am I? Why, I'm your host, Bruxismic Max Levine, and over there, in a very fetching straitjacket, is Mike Dementia Pracox is making a comeback loose. Channel the gods of madness for us, Mike!
You are going to give me the key when the show's over. You promised to give me the key when the show's over.
I don't remember saying any such thing, but...
Key!
For those of you paying attention at home, bruxism is a mental condition where a person compulsively grinds or gnashes their teeth. And dementia praecox is an old term for schizophrenia.
Oh.
Max Mike Movies. Now you know.
You know what never occurred to me is that we could in fact have used the title 3M if it hadn't been taken already.
True. Well, but nobody really knows them. They're just some fly-by-night little company.
You know what it stands for?
Scotch tape? Oh, yes, I do. Minnesota Mining something.
And Manufacturing Company.
Manufacturing. I can always forget that third M.
Yeah. They're better off with 3M. So are we!
Yes. But before we get into this, we get into that. And what's that? It's our poll question.
Poll question.
Last week we asked you, what is your favorite vampire movie of any era? And you had thoughts.
Oh boy, did they.
Seth Jacobs wrote in with Jack Palance as Dracula. Now, I didn't believe that initially.
Oh no, I knew it was true, but really?
Yeah, it was a 1974 made-for-TV movie. Wow. Renfield, you are my number one guy.
I'm gonna suck your blood. Brilliant, flawless impersonation of Jack Palance.
It's uncanny. Like he was here in the studio, only not dead.
No, he's not.
Jessica Miller says, I hate to be that cliche, but Interview with a Vampire. It's a soft spot from my childhood. You saw this in your childhood? This isn't a kid's movie?
That explains a lot.
Yeah. However, Chrissy Becker-Krenitsky chimes in with, she agrees with Jessica, saying that also she loved the new series. The series is pretty, these were biggies.
The series is almost not Interview with a Vampire.
It's very different.
And that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying Interview with a Vampire is in any way a bad thing. It's just so removed.
Very different.
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting, but anyway.
From Dave. We have, the only ones I can think of that got repeat views are Lost Boys and Nosferatu. There's a pairing. There's a double feature for you. Actually, that might be a pretty good double feature. Anyway, I think Nosferatu holds up better. There were a few scenes in Dracula Dead and Loving It that I enjoyed. I remember a meal where Renfield is trying to eat a fly, but really the best thing about the movie was that I saw it at UCLA, and Mel Brooks came and gave a lecture afterwards. Yeah, that would do it.
I wouldn't care what the movie was, even if it
Seriously.
was, I don't know, Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS. Now starring Mel Brooks.
Well, Mel Brooks could have saved that movie.
Yes, he could.
Brian Mundo says, oh, God. The one with the sparkly vampires.
Yes,
Several exclamation points. It's my favorite because I got an amazing 2-hour nap during it. That action movie would make a good sleep aid, really.
I'm surprised he could sleep through all the squee. Because when I went and saw the second one, there was squee. Oh my God, was there squee? There was silence. Jacob takes his shirt off. Squee!
And that was from the guys.
Hey, well, you know, it was an exciting moment.
Yeah. Mike Dance says, What We Do in the Shadows, the original movie. See our episode on What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah.
Leave me to do my dark bidding. What are you bidding on? I'm bidding on the table. Daniel Howe's The Hunger was awesome.
Ooh.
I also love the Underworld series, if that counts. But more because of the Lycans. Why wouldn't it count? They're movies.
Yeah, they got vampires in them. It has one of our old friends, Bill Nighy, in it, who's awesome.
He is. And we have Kate Beckinsale, who really wears that jumpsuit well.
Max. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I suppose if I can drool over Jacob Wearpants, you can... What's his fang?
Yep. Tyler Taylor, what's his fang? Yeah. Tyler Stewart says, I'm torn between Near Dark and Coppola's Dracula. Really? They are very, very different movies. No kidding. Making direct comparisons difficult. Yeah.
Sorry, Tyler. I do not agree about Coppola's Dracula. Not film like.
See our episode on Dracula in general.
Yeah. Not that one.
Matt Reisman said, I really like the original Blade movie. Yeah. Did it steal the aesthetic wholesale from Vampire the Masquerade? Yes. Is that why it works? Also yes. I Am Legend is an interesting subversion of the genre, though. That's funny. I never thought of the creatures in I Am Legend as vampires. I thought they were more sort of zombies, but vampire works. Tim Potter, Merry Christmas, Mr. Potter, says, we just watched 2 really, really, really bad ones. Oh boy, 3 reallys. This is not good.
Nope.
Vampire Boys and Vampire Boys 2. Come on, if the first one was bad, why did you watch the sequel?
I don't know. I'd never heard of it.
These were like, I got a new video camera. Let's make a movie quality.
Okay.
So I would have to say my favorite was Lost Boys. It was fun, campy, and a nice twist. Vampire movies just tend to be so cliche. I mean, why do they need to hiss before they're allowed to bite anyone? It's a point. Bats don't hiss.
I don't. Well, maybe they do. We just can't hear it.
It might be they hiss in the ultrasonic. Maybe
they squee.
Maybe they squee before they sparkle.
Oh no.
Yeah. Agatha Gasparoni, another vote for Interview with the Vampire. See, not a cliche. People like this.
Yeah.
I've loved that movie ever since I read the book at an inappropriately young age.
Oh, somebody else who grew up with Interview with the Vampire. I know both people, and they're actually both very nice people, so there you go.
Mm-hmm. Val Coons, hewing footsteps with the best of them.
Oh.
The 1922 Nosferatu, hands down. It's still creepy. Ah, yes, Max Schreck.
Yeah, there's some amazingly good visual stuff in there, and the director really had to push that kind of thing because there was no actual dialogue.
No.
So, yeah. And then they remade it. I think, wasn't it our old buddy, comedic master, Werner Herzog, who remade it with Klaus Kinski?
Yeah. A man who could play Dracula without makeup.
Yeah.
And they put makeup on him, and he was frigging terrifying. I saw that movie. It scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
That's the only Dracula movie I've ever seen that actually frightened me. Derek Steele, FBI.
Photographer
for the FBI.
No.
Says, Jerry Maguire?
Huh?
What?
There's no vampires in Jerry Maguire.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's sort of a metaphor for the vampiric nature of sports agents. I don't know. He doesn't explain. Damn you, Steele!
Maybe he thought the movie sucked.
Maybe that was it. Oh, dear. Nick Hoffman says, I don't really have a favorite, as they've all been just okay for me. I liked elements of Coppola's Dracula, but there was much to be dissatisfied with as well. Much, yes.
I found the credits satisfactory.
I like the first two Underworld films, but they're not scary. Yeah.
No.
Nosferatu is cool, but hampered by the early 20th century tech. Huh. Yeah, okay. Benjamin Carl says, not a movie, but there was a Canadian show called Forever Night about a repentant vampire who becomes a homicide detective. I remember watching that show. The acting wasn't great, but the plot lines were actually pretty interesting.
Huh.
And there's just something about every time he bites somebody and he goes, sorry.
I suck blood, eh?
Dr. Professor Rebecca Pelkey says, I loved Only Lovers Left Alive, which I feel like I've gushed about to you before. It's a slow, absolutely beautiful film, in my humble opinion. Tilda Swinton and Tom Hiddleston are a wonderful, melancholy vampire duo. It is an amazing movie. I don't like it because Tom Hiddleston made me ask myself very uncomfortable questions.
Wow, what can you imagine the children they would produce?
Oh my God, they would look like the most beautiful aliens on Earth ever.
But so very pale.
They'd be very pale and very, very thin. They would be in danger of falling through the cracks between floorboards when they walked.
I don't know that movie. Maybe we should look into that one.
Yeah. Keith Wright said, I also like Near Dark because they were vicious vampires, not twinkly and vegetarian. Yep. Right there with you, Keith. Jeanette Goldstein.
Banicula.
Jeanette Goldstein is in Near Dark. Oh. I didn't know that. She was Vasquez in Aliens and the stepmom in Terminator 2. I didn't know she was in Near Dark. I haven't seen that movie in forever.
I haven't seen it.
She's a badass. Yes, she is. I also really liked the miniseries The Strain. Yeah, that was pretty good. The books, co-written by Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan, are a good read. One of my favorites, though, is 30 Days of Night. That movie got me to really respect Josh Hartnett as an actor. Well, there's a trick. Wow. That must
mean.
as well as his great work in Penny Dreadful. Okay, to be fair, I haven't seen either of those. Maybe he does pull something off. There are vampires in that series too. Loved that show.
Huh. Neat.
Adam Mark starts with a quotation. Quote, a guy only orders that drink when he wants to kiss a girl or kill a man. So which is it? Unquote. It's from Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. And
I did actually see it.
So bad it's good. It merits a mention.
I don't know if I agree with the last statement.
You truly have to be drinking to enjoy the flick, but it's definitely a fun romp if you don't take it too seriously. A problem with the vampire genre. Always so overly serious.
It's true.
I'm imagining Lestat injecting, "Stop whining, Louis!" In addition, this film birthed the parody FDR American Badass, wherein FDR, played by Barry Bostwick, fights Nazi and Axis-allied werewolves. I did not make this up. God bless America.
Okay.
Wow.
I hadn't heard of that one.
Me neither. I may have to check that one out. Roland Hardy says The Hunger was a good one, but Discovery of Witches series is really good. A different twist, vampires and witches.
Witches?
I know that one. Witches? Vampires and witches.
Well, no, vampire witches. Witches.
Why not? Julie O'Malley says, I have a soft spot in my heart for Innocent Blood with Anne Parillo. That movie is fun, if nothing else, to see Don Rickles as a vampire.
I beg your pardon?
Don Rickles is in it, and he turns into a vampire.
I'm going to bite your net, you hockey puck.
Oh, yeah, suck your blood. Why not? Everything else about you sucks. Charles Forsyth says, I have to go with Near Dark. Another one vote for Near Dark. The second film directed by celebrated director Catherine Bigelow. In some ways, it's like if The Lost Boys was dead serious and took place in Oklahoma.
Oh, sure. Wow. What a place to put vampires. That's just plain mean, grouchy and mean.
I've seen Lost Boys more than any other vampire film. It's just all kinds of fun and highly quotable. The Hunger is also really great, but Near Dark has a visceral realism that I found really engaging. If I had to pick a vampire movie for my Desert Island collection, I would pick Near Dark. I'd file The Lost Boys under satire so we could keep that too. George Saunier says, I like Herzog's Nosferatu.
There you go.
I like many of the ideas brought out in An Interview with a Vampire, but not the overall execution. Vampires are like zombies and gangsters for me. They don't inspire lasting fascination. That's fair.
Yeah.
From the lands of the frozen north, master of all vampire penguins, Vince says, I am sort of an aficionado of vampire lore, and while I can't think of many films that follow the actual lore, I do love the original Nosferatu. But I also love the updating of vampire lore in The Hunger, in both the book and the movie. The book fell short of what it could be, but the movie was fantastic, with Catherine Deneuve and David Bowie as lesbian vampire lovers. Well, close enough. Okay.
I have this thing I need to make clear to you about David Bowie.
Yeah.
If it wasn't clear already.
And as he points out, penguins are often mistaken for vampires because of the little tuxedos they wear. But you were well aware of that. Yes, I was.
I'm sure you were. It sounds to me like The Hunger is... there's one more?
We got one more. Actually, Ned Cheeseboy, one of the guys responsible for this week's movie. I've always loved What We Do in the Shadows. Underneath the humor, there's a shockingly poignant narrative about change and coming to grips with who we are and how we relate to the world, much like last week's episode At the World's End. Blade is also fun, even if it's silly. However, and this is a bit longer, this is sort of an Adam Mark essay, but this is pretty interesting. I'd like to make an unorthodox suggestion, which is that Fight Club is actually a vampire movie. Spoilers abound in the following arguments. Tyler Durden shows up almost exclusively at night, has an obsession with violence, barely disguised by a hypnotically suave, seductive exterior, and literally feeds on the protagonist's energy, matching him almost note for note to the typical depictions of a vampire. What's more, Tyler Durden doesn't have a reflection. That's true, he never stood up in the mirrors. Which is one of the most memorable vampiric giveaways. The movie talks a lot about immortality. His name was Robert Paulson. And one of the most memorable scenes in the movie, when Tyler scars the narrator's hand with a chemical burn, involves a kiss, which is again a calling card of vampires. Now, is Tyler Durden meant to literally be a vampire? No, of course not. But I think it's interesting to take a look at Fight Club as a modern vampire story and to ask how our lust for excess, both internal and external, can lead to parasitic relationships with ourselves. Wow, deep.
Huh. I think it's using the terminology and some of the mythology of vampirism, but I wouldn't say I would make that final step as a vampire movie. I would say it's vampiric, but that's a tough film. I've only seen it once. For some reason, we liked the film enough that we went and bought the DVD, which we have never watched. Because it's a tough film.
It's a hard movie to watch. It's brilliant to watch, but for me, it's like Clockwork Orange. It's just difficult to watch.
Yeah, and
It's so brutal and so dark.
Maybe someday I'll get back to it, but that's a really, really interesting take.
That is fascinating. Seriously. Thank you, Ned. And thank you all. These were really thoughtful and insightful answers. It seems like, The Hunger, Near Dark, and Interview with a Vampire top the lists.
Yeah, I've never seen The Hunger. Maybe I should. Is it based on a Stephen King? No. It just has
I think
David
Salem's
Bowie
Lot
as a lesbian.
Well, he could play one if he wanted.
I'm sure he could.
But your reward for all this, for doing our dark bidding, is to do more of our dark bidding with our next poll question. Real simple. Who's your favorite cinematic bad guy?
Bad guy.
Bad guy.
I'm a bad guy, but I'm not a bad guy.
Exactly.
What is up with Zangief's ass?
What is up with it?
That was the best segue ever.
And we will tell you how to answer this question at the end of the show. But now, the facts. Stuff about 7 Psychopaths. Budget, $15 million. Box office, a little under $30 million. That's why we never saw 8 Psychopaths or 9 Psychopaths.
Even though we tempted our audience last week with those titles.
Yep. The Martin McDonagh, the writer and director of this movie, also wrote and directed the Oscar darlings 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, The Banshees of Inisherin. This was also with Colin Farrell.
Okay.
And In Bruges, also with Colin Farrell.
Now, wait.
He likes him some Colin Farrell. And if you check out episode 70 of our show, you will not only hear a discussion of In Bruges, but you will hear a guest appearance by Ned himself. And we begin to see why Ned likes this movie so much, because apparently he digs him some Martin McDonagh.
Huh. I think it's just McDonough, but there you go.
Yeah, it's a Celtic last name, so sometimes you pronounce the last two.
It happens to be my aunt's married name, so I would
your
say
aunt is Martin McDonagh?
Her name was Diane McDonough until she got divorced.
So she changed it to Martin?
Yes, my mom's name was Martin.
Okay.
You can't teach him anything.
That's right.
That's why the pony is right over there waiting. Get on with it.
Yeah. Zachariah, one of the psychopaths, is played by Tom Waits. Legendary, mostly legendary as a musician, sort of legendary as an actor. He's also an animal lover, and he agreed to the role without ever reading the script when he heard that he would be surrounded by bunnies.
Bunnies!
He likes bunnies.
Okay.
Billy's dog hat, that's Sam Rockwell's character, was not originally part of the wardrobe. Colin Farrell brought it in during a road trip with Rockwell, and he put it on his head, and Sam wouldn't take it off.
I'm sorry, I'm still just stuck on that Tom Waits thing. It's like, Tom, we have this great part in this movie for if you'd like, I'm really not interested. I'm going to be making an album. There's bunnies. Oh.
I'm in!
Like, really?
And the twisted organ grinder cries to the rabbits.
I'm holding my bunny like... Okay.
The scene where Hans refuses to put his hands up was pretty much entirely improvised by Christopher Walken. In the graveyard scene, the grave that the Jack of Diamonds killer is hiding behind is named Rourke. Mickey Rourke was originally cast in the movie in that same part, but dropped out. Actually, no, he was supposed to be Charlie Costello, the gangster, but he dropped out after some disagreements with Martin McDonagh. He was replaced by Woody Harrelson.
See, I swore it was the grave of Mr. Rourke from Fantasy Island.
Mr. Rourke cannot die. He is eternal.
Yeah, sure.
When Marty wakes up on Billy's couch, he has writing on his hand. It says, "Dead relationship debris."
Okay.
The character of Charles Costello is a ruthless gangster whose only real affection is for his small dog and will kill people to recover it. This role was originally intended for Mickey Rourke, who in real life is known to have a great affection for his small dogs.
Wait. Mickey Rourke was originally supposed to be the dog?
Yes.
Wow.
He was supposed to be Bonnie.
What a stretch.
He's got range.
I guess so.
At the premiere of this movie, instead of the traditional red carpet, they used a black carpet to match the mood of the film.
I think the red would have been better.
Yes.
You know why.
Yes. It wouldn't show the blood as much.
There you go.
During the cancer ward visit, the announcement in the background calling for Dr. Blair, Dr. Jane Hamilton, Dr. Jane Hamilton, is a reference to the album Operation Mindcrime by Queensryche. The voice is taken directly from the track Eyes of a Stranger. That album's subject matter is about a hitman.
I'd like to go with
Hans tells Marty that he is disappointed that women don't get a bigger role in his movie, hence the prostitute character who is very literate, intelligent, and educated, who speaks perfect Vietnamese.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. The desert sequences are shot in Joshua Tree National Park.
Pretty.
There isn't a lot more about this. Not a lot of other trivia about this.
Weird.
Yeah. So let's get to the plot.
By all means.
Marty, Colin Farrell, is an alcoholic wannabe screenwriter in Hollywood struggling with a script he's calling Seven Psychopaths. What a coinky-dink!
Yeah.
He has a girlfriend named Kaya who pretty much vanishes from the movie after 10 minutes, and his best friend is Billy, no relation to Travis, Bickle. Billy, played by Sam Rockwell, and his friend Hans, played by Christopher Walken, this movie needs more cowbell, have a unique business plan whereby they kidnap dogs, find them for the owners, and collect the reward. Unfortunately, they make the very serious mistake of dog-napping Bonnie, a Shih Tzu belonging to a brutal, one might say psychopathic gangster named Charlie Costello, Woody Harrelson. Charlie will stop at nothing to get his dog back, and Marty ends up being dragged into a violent, bloody, heavily metatextual situation involving dogs, weird stories about Vietnamese men dressed as priests, peyote, and the best place for a final shootout. All this ends up in Marty's screenplay. But is he writing the movie, or is the movie writing him? Whoa. The film.
I would like to disavow your whoa. But anyway.
So, had you seen this?
I'd never even heard of it.
I think I heard the title because someone used it as a joke with, there was a movie that came out called 8 Heads in a Duffel Bag. No, and there was like 7 Psychopaths, 8 Heads in a Duffel Bag, and then they were trying to do other number movies. That's the only reason I ever heard of it.
Oh, no.
Which is kind of surprising because this guy, Martin McDonagh, is a big deal.
Apparently, and I mean, there's a few pretty big names in here, and then some other people.
Yes.
And a couple of surprises that I'm like, I know who is that? Oh, it's that person. But yeah.
Yeah.
And Tom Waits, because there's bunnies.
I mean, and Harry Dean Stanton, who I don't think has any lines.
Well, and that's the one that I'm like, who is that? I know who that is.
Harry Dean Stanton, the only guy who could make someone dressed as a Quaker look menacing.
Yeah, the only question I have in his character portrayal is, can Quakers smoke?
I'm not sure.
I think so.
They're not supposed to drink.
I bet they can't smoke.
There is a sect of Quakers called, believe it or not, the Fighting Quakers, who can drink. It's not, alcohol isn't forbidden, so maybe he was one of them, because maybe tobacco isn't forbidden either.
The what Quakers?
The Fighting Quakers. It's not, they still are nonviolent. That was just kind of a joke. They aren't quite as intense about it as the non-fighting Quakers.
I would not harm thee for the world, but thou art standing where I plan to shoot.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Harry Dean Stanton is fine in this role. He has not a single word to say, but he does give that quiet menace, that Man in Black sort of thing, that Johnny Cash, you don't want to see him on your last day kind of thing. So, we'll start there. Why not?
Yeah. So might as well go for the cast.
Yeah.
We got Colin Farrell. Now, I remember you complaining that Colin Farrell just always looks confused. To be fair, that fits the character pretty well in this.
Well, that's why they hired him. It's like, we need somebody who's really good at looking confused. How about Colin Farrell? Every film I see him in, he just stands around at various points in his role looking like he has no idea where he is or why he's there. Now, you're correct. That does fit the character. I will say this for him, too. He finally actually gets to be Irish, which is probably a nice little bonus for him.
He does that every so often.
Mostly
he was Irish in Bruges, and he was Irish in The Haredevil.
The Haredevil?
The Haredevil. Yes, that was a lesser-known Warner Brothers cartoon.
Was he Bullseye in that?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, because Bullseye was known to be... No, he was. Oh, yeah, he was.
Well, after the movie, he was. Before the movie, I don't think he was.
Colin Farrell is fine. I will say this about Colin Farrell. He is very consistent.
He also has real presence, although that may just be his eyebrows. I'm not sure.
I can't stop looking at them. It's like, man, they're so straight and they're so big.
He doesn't have to wear sunglasses. They keep his eyes shaded.
I'll say this. He's a good-looking guy. So, he's fine. I have no issues with him.
Sam Rockwell always impresses me, I gotta say. He has real range. There are all these movies where I go, oh, God, that was Sam Rockwell.
Please name some of them, because I'm like, I know I've heard
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He was Zaphod.
Okay.
Charlie's Angels, the first one. He was the bad guy.
Okay.
He's done... the guy's done a ton of stuff.
Okay.
I'm not looking at his page. He was in Moon. He's also in 3 billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
Which you didn't see.
Which I did not see.
So it's hard for you to recognize him from that film because you have never actually seen it.
Yep. No, he's done a ton. He was in Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh.
Although I think he may only have been in as a voice. I'm not sure.
His performance is very difficult for me to judge because the character is both so incredibly strange and also, quite honestly, I don't understand why anybody would be friends or hang around or, quite honestly, go to bed with Billy Bickle. He's just bizarre and weird. And then later we find out it's even worse than we thought it was. So I guess that means he did a really good job, because what a weird character.
He plays crazy very well. Because the whole idea is, I don't think you're supposed to understand him because he's not rational.
Yes.
The thing is, there are 7 psychopaths in this movie, and he's 2 of them.
Yeah.
Literally.
He's not entirely unlike his own kind of silent Deadpool.
Kind of. And then, of course, we've got Christopher Walken, the man who is so much fun to do impressions of.
Well, and I have to say, he's got to that age, and this film is 10 years old, but he's got to that age in this film where he actually sounds like he's doing an impersonation of himself. And that's not a bad thing. It's just one of those things where he's become, with that cadence and the way he speaks, is become so pronounced that I don't know if he can actually claw his way out of it. The character himself, though, is both reprehensible, because he's making his living stealing other people's dogs, but he's doing it because he needs to give money to his wife who has cancer, and she needs payments for whatever horrible thing she's going through.
And so he and his wife are just adorable together, him and Myra.
Yeah. Who's got a tiny part, but when she has a little bit at the end, or I shouldn't say the end of the film, near her end, spoiler. I think she does a nice little job, but it's a little job, and we'll get back to the female character thing. When have you seen a bad performance by Christopher Walken? I don't know of one. Max Schreck. That's probably the only thing. That's not bad. It's just a dumb character.
He's okay. It's just the dialogue he has to spout in Batman Returns.
And that hair thing he's wearing.
That hair! God!
Yeah.
And the thing people don't realize, or a lot of people don't, Christopher Walken is funny. He can be really funny. If you have never seen it, you can find it on YouTube. Saturday Night Live, he does a character called the Continental. And he is hilarious. And because he jumps in with both feet, and he is not afraid to look silly.
Huh. What I think is interesting you left out of the trivia is that 3 of the big names in this film are also dancers. Christopher Walken, Sam Rockwell, and Colin Farrell are all trained dancers.
Yeah, when do they ever dance in this movie?
They don't, but it's it's just kind of interesting. The only time I knew that Christopher Walken was a dancer was in that Fatboy Slim video, and I'm like...
Yep, he's a song and dance man.
Paste his face onto somebody? No, that's really him. Okay?
Yep.
It's still creepy.
You can see him strut his stuff in Hairspray, the musical version.
Oh, okay. Is it the one with John
Travolta in drag, yes.
Right. Which is, he did that to stretch he didn't have any experience. He's not in the closet. Anyway, who else do we got?
That's the major cast.
Oh, come on.
What?
You left out Woody Harrelson.
Oh, sorry. I thought we covered him already.
No?
Yeah, no. Woody Harrelson, who, if you've ever seen the Oliver Stone movie, Natural Born Killers, I already knew, is really good at playing crazy.
Yeah, to me... it's not that he doesn't do well. I think he's fine. I just didn't see anything new here. It's like, well, he's kind of playing to type.
Yeah, no, he's a very generic, except for the absolute love for the dog, which I think was sweet.
Yeah.
And disturbing.
Yes.
Because, he loves the dog. He just murders and terrifies humans.
Yeah.
He's a very cookie-cutter bad guy.
He's got his little niche, which, to be fair, is a universe away from his character on Cheers. Yeah. So good for him, but there's nothing new here. He's fine.
Yeah, he does a good job in part.
Something we might want to warn our listeners about. So we asked a poll question for people's favorite comedies, and this was brought up by 2 of our listeners, as we said. Mm-hmm. I checked. It is listed as a comedy, but that's not where I'd put it first. This is a very violent movie.
Extremely violent.
It starts off that way. Like, the opening of the film is very suddenly violent. Like, there's 2 characters talking about a hit they're going to make, but nothing's actually happening until suddenly, blam, blam! And it does set the tone, but if you were expecting just, ha-ha, this is not your film.
Yeah, if you're thinking a dark comedy, the emphasis here is very much on the dark.
Yeah. So just if you're going to watch the film one way or the other based on our show, and why wouldn't you? Just be prepared.
Be ready.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of the cast, I do realize we actually didn't bring up Tom Waits.
Oh, yeah, Tom Waits.
I think he does a really good job as Zachariah, the serial killer.
Sure, which there's a plot we've heard before. Isn't that the same plot for Dexter?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
He and his girlfriend go around hunting down. This was a part that really kind of threw me. They list like 3 of the serial killers they hunt down.
Yeah.
2 of them are fictional.
Right.
The third one is Zodiac.
Yeah.
That's kind of a big deal. No one ever caught Zodiac. No one's even sure who he was.
My guess is that that's why they did it, is because we can get away with it, because now it's like, now you know why he was never caught, because in our movie... Okay.
We burned him up and stole his bunnies.
It's funny, because there's a weird little... character arc with Zachariah there, because he basically teams up with this woman and they go on a killing spree. But at some point, he basically decides that things have gotten a little out of hand and he doesn't think he can do it anymore. And so, in fact, I think it's the Zodiac killer that they're taking care of.
Yep.
He basically doesn't help with that killing, and she goes on without him, and he's regretted it ever since. And it's kind of touching and also horrific at the same time. Oh, yeah, I really wish I could find her and we could pick up where we left off.
That's right.
It's like, sure.
Marty is interviewing him because Billy decided to place an ad for Psychopaths to help Marty out, and he interviews him and makes Marty promise that if he uses him in the movie, he'll put a little message at the end of the movie to Maggie saying, I miss you, come back.
Yeah. Did you expect to watch the credits to see if they actually put it in?
I did.
So you actually saw the scene too. It's not a post-credit scene. It's sort of
it's almost into the credits where. At the end of it, Marty's movie has apparently, again, spoiler, his movie's been made, and Zachariah calls him up and says, you didn't put my message in.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kill you. And then we don't really know if he is, because then he talks to Marty for a minute, and he says, you sound like you've been through the grinder, which he has.
Yeah.
So I do I'm going to come kill you Tuesday. He says, that's fine, I'm not doing anything Tuesday. It's like, you know what, Tuesday's no good for me. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, just to point that out, he has been through a grinder, not Grinder, the app.
No, he has not.
He might feel that way, but, you never know. Yeah, Tom Waits, the only other film that I can recall seeing him in is Bram Stoker's Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, and he played Renfield, and it's fine.
He also played the inventor guy in Mystery Men.
Okay, I did see Mystery Men. I don't remember it very well. I know it's got William H. Macy among many,
many people.
So I'd say we have a pretty solid cast. I don't think anybody here is at the peak of their game, meaning I don't think this is a part any of them you would point to and go, oh, if you want to see X, you want to see this.
This is not going to be their in memoriam clip.
No, but I think they're all bringing in really solid performances.
Yeah,
but
they do decent jobs. These aren't bravura performances.
No. Speaking of performances and stuff, let's get to that point that we've now said twice we're going to get to.
Yeah.
The film itself makes a statement about thinly explored stereotypical female characters, and then that's all that's in the movie.
Yeah. There's only two, three, four female characters. Most of them don't have names.
No. Or they have one name. One of them's called Blonde Lady.
Yeah. Another one is called Hooker.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Blonde Woman, there's Hooker, there's Kaya, there's Angela. Most of them get only 2 or 3 lines. They have no... As Hans, has read the screenplay of the movie we're watching, which is a little confusing.
We'll get to that too.
Yeah, and he says, the women in this movie only exist basically to bounce off the men or be killed.
Yeah.
And he's
spoiler.
right. That is in fact the only thing the women do in this movie.
So
they have no agency. They don't do anything themselves.
Nope.
And I guess they're trying to, look, see, we're acknowledging it, so it's okay.
In 2013, I'm not okay with it. I don't think you can't make an all-male cast film. I don't think that's a problem. But if you're literally going to point out the problem that Hollywood has in most of its film with most of its female characters and then do the same thing, I have a problem with that. So
that was not impressive.
Yeah.
How did you deal with? Let's talk about the actual story.
Yeah.
How did you like the metatext of all this? The fact that we're watching a movie called Seven Psychopaths. One of the characters is a screenwriter writing a movie called Seven Psychopaths. And in effect, at one point, Billy is trying to direct the final scene of A, the movie, and B, their lives.
Well, my note was, and this was very early on, fourth note. So wait, they're still writing the movie we're watching while we watch it?
Yeah.
I don't... I think it's meant to be really clever. The decision I'm having trouble making is if it's clever or if it's too clever. Meaning, did it take me out of the film? And I think the problem is that it takes me out of the film. I think the idea that it's giving me the thought that this film wasn't actually completed before they were making it, and by completed I mean written, decided upon. I understand improvisation. Heck, I would never have guessed Christopher Walken was just improvising what he was doing. And hey, let's give hats off to, oh dear gods, Zelijko Ivanek for going with it and doing the other half of that scene. Because if I was working with Christopher Walken and he came out and just started making stuff up, I don't know that I'd be able to respond with anything more than hamana, 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 naba in the scribbit. Well, why he did not say the words.
Put your hands up. No. What? No.
I don't want to.
Why not?
No, I don't want to. Yeah, yes.
It's like suddenly they turn into children. It's actually oddly endearing.
Well, I actually do like the fact that the hitman, Paulo, then is like he can't bring himself to just shoot him because he won't put his hands up. Like there's some sort of, like, I don't know, code. And
also the police have just pulled up.
Well, but he already has the gun out, so he could have. Anyway, the meta thing, I don't know. It feels like tough. It feels like cleverness for cleverness' sake, as opposed to something that was actually well executed. What did you think?
I don't know. It comes very close to the line where it's between intriguing and obnoxious.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that kind of metatext is just the screenwriter or the director going, look how self-aware I am. Look how clever I am. I think this gets very close to that line. I don't think it goes over it. I mean, this becomes, in effect, a movie about making an action movie.
Yeah, it's just I don't feel the payoff, I think, is the problem. What we have is people sitting there talking about being confused about writing a screenplay. We then have a very confusing metatextual thing happen, and then we focus on Colin Farrell looking confused. And to me, it's kind of a little trifecta of, I don't know. I think it's enough of an issue that it's causing me to pause, and that's not a good sign.
I don't know. Just some of it is so damn funny. This is the parts that I really actually laughed at is when Billy is describing what his idea of the final scene, the shootout in the graveyard, and he is just heaping every action movie cliche one on top of the other. And so then he pulls a crossbow out from his sleeve. I'm like, from his sleeve? Well, then he shoots the guy, and the guy's head blows up. And then, in the next scene, Hans and Marty are saying, if you shoot someone in the head, their head doesn't blow up, does it? No. Well, it does if their head's made of explosives.
Then the dam burst, and the price of food skyrocketed. It is not entirely unlike Daffy Duck in the Scarlet Pimpernel.
The thing is, it's also absolutely accurate. Every cliche he's using is absolutely part of especially 2000s Hollywood.
And I will
every action movie.
I will give them credit for actually shooting the scenes he's talking about. So
yep. And they do it well. They don't just like half-ass the scene or do it like with camera angles where you can't really see anything. They film the whole thing. They've got stunts. They've got special effects. It looks impressive.
My favorite is Woody Harrelson getting shot through the neck with the crossbow bolt because he looks so stunned. Like,
yep.
And you can somehow just tell that the mechanism is literally just off screen. Like, that's what happened because it's dead. It's shot straight on, and the arrow or the bolt comes straight across. That was kind of funny. So I give them credit for that. They take this 12-year-old boy's fantasy of an action film and they actually film it, which is pretty fun.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, for me, I think for you, the metatext went over the line. For me, it gets very close. I don't think it goes over. I may have to see this again to be sure.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
It's a possibility.
And now you die.
We were just talking about vampire movies.
Yeah. Sparkle,
there's glitter on me.
Yes, thank you, Nosferatu Sparkle Pony.
Give him a puck. That'll make him feel better. I will say that things are a little disjointed. The face of the audience is more or less Colin Farrell, which again is why they pick somebody who's good at looking confused. And there's parts where I'm just like, wait, what just happened? But I will say that all through it, the film is still compelling. I'm still interested. Yeah. I'm trying to guess what the hell is going to happen. And it's paced fairly well. It's close to 2 hours.
Well. Yeah.
And it is a comedy.
Mm-hmm. Technically.
Yeah, that's what it says. And it's an action movie, so it should move along. And it does. There were some parts that kind of felt tacked on. And I want to say that the Vietnamese priest was one of them.
That is a very odd sequence. That seems like it's out of another movie almost.
Well, it seems like something that does fit the criteria, but doesn't really add anything to the overall story, I don't think.
Yeah.
And he's trying to figure out who are his 10 to 7. Here's the sad thing, and this is actually probably factually accurate. Marty's character there is apparently a successful screenwriter, and he needs a new screenplay, and his agent is bugging him for it, and he literally only has a title. The entire film isn't based on a story, it's based on a title. And I'm betting a lot of films get made that way.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And there's a couple he's decided, I have to come up with 7 Psychopaths because that's the name of the film I've decided upon. Okay, sure, that's a reason. But the 2 stories that he's more or less already thought to include turn out not to even be his story. He just was told them while he was drunk and forgot who told him, and then later finds out that the actual originator of one of those stories wasn't who he thought and is somebody he now knows. Which
that's actually a nice twist. That really got me with that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of weird stuff going.
This is a very challenging movie to watch in that the main characters, almost none of them are likable.
No,
just
not entirely.
That's the thing. They're all very flawed, which makes them very human. Hans, I think, is the most likable.
Yes, and especially when you find out the full details of his story, you can almost excuse the dog napping, but still, the dog napping is pretty cruel.
It's pretty awful. That's very cruel.
Although, quite honestly, it's the least awful thing in this film.
Yeah, because they do eventually give the dogs back. It's just a way to get money. But because Marty is horrible to his girlfriend. He's immensely self-centered. He's a jerk, but he does still. You can tell on some level he cares about Billy, and Billy. His motivation is hard to figure out, but he obviously loves Marty. He's very attached to him.
Yeah, but you also get the impression that if Marty ever does that one thing, whatever it is, that really pisses off Billy, that line will be crossed and there will be a Jack of Diamonds played on his chest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's fine for everybody to be flawed. I think part of the issue I might have had with this film is because I might have been better off if I'd seen a preview. I had some idea of what to expect because I really had no idea. And I honestly was thinking, ha funny, and this isn't that kind of funny. Whether that's a good thing or not, bad thing, we'll get to the end, but this to me is not The Hangover. This is not the Lego Movie. This is a different kind of humor.
Yeah.
And it was challenging. I will definitely agree with that. This is the part where I hope you have more notes.
I do like some of the visuals in it where, like, at one point Marty is reading Billy's diary and there's an entry in there, note to self, don't set fire to the neighbor's American flag.
Yeah.
And one of the last shots is we see the neighbor's burnt American flag. So apparently Billy does not keep his promises to himself either.
Yeah, which just also goes into that whole, if you said do that, because Marty punches Billy at one point.
Yeah.
And I kind of wondered, is that the thing? Is that going to be the thing? But it's like, my only best friend punched me, but no, he's actually fine with it. And he actually says, and I think he's being nice, he says, it was actually a really strong punch. And my feeling was that he was just being nice, that it was actually pretty weak, because of course, Colin Farrell's like shaking his hand going, ow, ow!
This guy, Colin Farrell, I believe, could punch someone. I don't think Marty could.
Yeah, Colin Farrell, he always gives you the impression that he could hurt somebody.
Yeah.
And he does, I will give, now that you mentioned that, I will give him an extra point. He does seem toned down in the threatening department. He does seem less capable when it comes to violence in this film.
He's way less menacing in this movie than he has been in a lot of others, because he can project that air of menace really easily.
Yeah, like Incredible Creatures and How to Eat Them.
Yes,
I think he's head of the Dementors or something like that.
He's what's it, Volavant, or whatever the old version of Volavant was. Falderall.
Falderall.
That's right.
Yeah. Let's get into Harry Potter now, shall we?
Yeah. No.
Shout out,
I do have to say, sorry, you have
I was going to say shout out to Michael Pitt, whom I last saw in a film called Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Probably the most interesting musical I have ever seen.
Oh, wow. I've heard of this. Never seen it.
I recommend it. It is a gay-based film, just so you know. And it was written by the person who stars in it as Hedwig. A couple friends of ours had us see it in Toronto, and I didn't know what to expect, but the music's really good. He plays a character called Tommy Gnosis, and he's really pretty in it. He plays a character in this called Larry, who is utterly forgettable.
Well, yeah. Well, doesn't he die in the first 5 minutes?
I think he's one of the two hitmen in the opening of the film. Yeah. And he has barely anything to do. But real quick, just shout out to Michael Pitt because I liked him in Hedwig and the Angry. If you were looking for an offbeat film, something different, that's also a musical and you can stand some gay content, I recommend Hedwig and the Angry Inch. It was also a stage play for a long time. It's definitely worth seeing.
That's right. Neil Patrick Harris was in it, I think.
The stage, that was the redone version. It was a stage play, I think, in Canada, then got made into a movie, and then became a stage play again. So, yeah.
I just want to circle back again to the Vietnamese priest, who I don't think we ever get his name.
I think it's Vietnamese priest.
There's something, again, visually a lot of his stuff is very interesting, but there's something very jarring about the character in that they keep citing two really disturbing historical events in the Vietnam War. One is the My Lai massacre, and then there's the one of the Buddhist priests setting themselves on fire to protest the war, and they tie him into both of those things. That's a lot of content to heap on a minor character, on what is basically a fantasy character, because he's the one guy in the movie who doesn't really exist in the world of the movie.
In the world of the movie, yeah.
Yeah.
That's another reason why I felt that section didn't really jibe.
It doesn't fit the rest.
It fits the screenplay he was initially trying to write, but it doesn't fit the movie. Yeah. Either that or we need to see an entire movie about that character. But it is also when you take those two things and you're kind of playing them for laughs, that gets a little uncomfortable. Because, really, guys? That? Okay.
It wasn't I didn't think they were playing it for laughs, but it's very awkward in something that's supposed to be even a black comedy.
Yeah. So... And I unfortunately don't know that actor. He's had a very definite presence, but I don't know him from anything else.
He's got a great look. I think he's been in a bunch of stuff, but he tends to be in a lot of non-speaking parts.
I'm just glad they actually got somebody who was Vietnamese, because, man, that could easily have been, oh, well, they're from Asia. Well, whatever. It doesn't matter, because that's how Hollywood usually rolls. But usually how we roll is we get to that part where we decide. Yep. Shall we get to that part?
Let's get there. The finish.
So, Max.
Yeah.
You hadn't seen it either.
I had not. I knew nothing about it.
Okay, so what did you think? Is a film called Seven Psychopaths successful, or is a film called Seven Psychopaths not successful?
I think it worked. I think it's very strange. It's definitely not a standard kind of movie. But I thought it was really interesting. I'm not sorry I saw it, and I would probably see it again just to see what other stuff I pick up from it, and if the metatextual elements actually work or don't work. So I think the performances are solid performances. I think the pacing's good. I like a lot of the visuals. I like the way it looks. It comes right up to the line again of with the metatext of being interesting versus being annoying. And at the moment, I still think it's on the interesting side, but it's awful close. And what about you?
Well, I had one more question before I get to me. Yeah. Would you categorize this as a comedy?
That's tough. I wouldn't say no. I think it's more of a thriller or a I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I'm still not sure.
Yeah. Because that's a toughie. Like I don't know if there's a good term for it, which might be a good thing because it's sort of its own thing. I would say I would put action first and then maybe comedy. But it's like, if you're coming for a laugh out loud film, I wouldn't go to this first. Yeah. Maybe go to watch this and then watch Apocalypse Now, and you'll find it a little funnier. But I don't know. I was hoping that by talking to you during the show, I would decide if I liked it or not, and I don't know. On the one hand, I am very much for somebody giving us something different, something new, something experimental, which this is on some levels, and other levels it's just perpetuating the same junk we get from Hollywood, i.e. poorly written two-dimensional female characters that are there to flash their yummies to late-night talk show hosts. But I think I appreciate it for trying. I don't think, for me, it fully succeeds, only because the metatextual stuff was just sort of starting to get in the way. I'm not sure how I would have changed it to make it that. Something didn't quite click for me. It's like the gear was missing one tooth.
Interesting.
Again, we talked about the performances. They're solid, but not outstanding. Mm-hmm. It's a very white movie. We made that complaint before. So, but I think, like you, I would probably be willing to watch it again to finally decide. Because that's happened before. See our first episode on Eyes Wide Shut, a film I have seen at least 6 times, and I still haven't figured out if I like it or not. And that's from a biggie. Yeah, that's a Kubrick. Yeah. That's Kubrick's last film. So I don't know. I would say that if you like the idea of some pretty brutal violence mixed with dark comedy, and do underline and capitalize the word dark, this might be the film for you. Just watch the preview.
Get an idea of what you're in for.
Because that would have helped, I think. But you know what else would help?
One other thing I realized that we left out of the cast.
Segue.
I know, it was a very nice segue. We'll use it again.
No, we won't.
But in terms of like who shows up in the movie, Gaburi Sidibe, who plays Charisse, the dog walker, who's in one scene, that is another Oscar-nominated, she might even have won, for Precious.
Okay.
And
I think she did.
And another thing, you can argue that here is a major Hollywood actress that they don't use at all, which both underlines that whole message and also perpetuates it.
Yeah.
I did want to give a quick shout out to her. But speaking of
perpetuating things, let's perpetuate answers to our poll question, and don't mess up my segues.
Perpetual.
Segway only has one wheel.
Yes, this week our poll question is, who is your favorite cinematic bad guy? Villain? Yes, and you can tell us this psychically. No, and also via the electronic mailing systems. You can write...
Email! Just say email!
Kids today don't know what that is. Electronic mailing systems. You can electronically mail us at our electronic mail address, us@maxmikemovies.com. You can also go to our webticular site, maxmikemovies.com, and leave a comment. You can find us on the booking face under Max Mike Movies. We always post the poll question there. You can leave a comment there and your answer.
Facebook.
And, of course, you can always find us on various podcastinating apps
all
over the world.
Fired.
But we're about halfway through now, I think, of our What's So Funny series.
2/3.
And that means we're going to have more funny next week. What's more funny next week, Mike?
Oh, you can't call me that anymore.
Why not?
Because Dolomite is my name.
Oh, no. Dolomite is your name.
Yes, we're going to watch the comedy.
And my name is Black Belt Jones.
There actually was one called Velvet Jones.
There was a Black Belt Jones.
I think there was a Cleopatra Jones, too, wasn't there?
There was.
Yeah.
Yep.
But we're going to be watching Dolomite is My Name, film starring Eddie Murphy, who is a young up-and-comer, hasn't been in too many films, or at least...
he's a flash in the pan.
He hadn't been in too many films before this recently.
Well, he was in a few. Donkey!
Yeah.
You just didn't see him much.
That was still quite a while ago. If we looked up Shrek, I bet Shrek was quite a whiles back.
Yeah, when was the fourth one?
Oh, there wasn't one.
Yes,
it was canceled. Even after it came out, it was canceled. I don't think I saw it, to be honest. But yeah, here's another film I know nothing about, except that Eddie Murphy's in it. Dolomite is my name, and Dolomite is my game, or something. But whatever our game is, why don't you just tune in next week and see if we liked Dolomite is my name.
This has been a co-production of The Voice of Max and The Movie Wrench. Yeah, there you go.
It's my buddy button.
My buddy.
Ooh, that sounds really rude.
That sounds incredibly dirty, you filthy swine.
My buddy button. Yeah.
My buddy button, if you know what I mean.
This week's episode brought to you by Buddy Button. No, you don't.
Get a free Buddy Button in every box of Bumpy Buck cereal. Bumpy Puck cereal.
Because if there's one thing you want to find in your Bumpy Puck cereal box, it's a Buddy Button.
Oh, God, this is wrong on so many levels. Okay.
But if it helps sell cereal, who cares?
2, 1.